what I learned during my academic years was, as an academic person, you hand in a lot of assignments that's teaching you interpersonal skills, that's teaching you research. You
Hmm.
cannot start a business without having sufficient research. It's also
Right,
teaching
right.
you how do you draw up proposals, how do you now take a whole lot of information, because obviously when you
Hmm.
submit proposals and business plans, you need to now conclude everything into one. You need to have a conclusion. We call it an executive summary. There are a lot of doable things, and from my point of view, there's no business idea that is a bad business idea. There is a
Hmm.
business idea that is not marketed correctly or marketed to the correct target market. That
Yeah.
is what I believe. If there was a business idea that was bad, we wouldn't have the likes of Elon Musk making money from people going into space. I think one of the biggest common mistakes that we make is that thinking there is no money in the black community.
Mm.
If you look at adverts, Tabu KFC, Tabu Mr. Muscle, look at all
Yeah.
adverts that are
Yeah.
out there, man. They are all targeting what? Black people. Black
Mm.
people are the biggest consumers in South Africa. So us
Right.
thinking, Kokasi or black people being your target market, huna chelete, that is the biggest misconception ever.
The Groundbreakers, Mondays to Thursdays, 7 to 9 p.m. on TUT FM.
We're going to have an important conversation. It's Plug, a graduate, and on the line to me now. Let us test if we are able to hear each other. Reabetswe, thank you so much for making time once again. It's going to be quite an important conversation, a lot to tap and learn from you. Good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
No, I can't complain. I really hope you are safe. Looking forward to an incredible discussion. I was looking at your journey, and I thought maybe that's where we should start before we get to the conversation proper. She's the chief executive officer at Edenvinne. Rejected. It is the rejection part of your story that I found fascinating. How you were able to defy odds. And today we are talking how one can turn their academic knowledge into income. It's a very important conversation. Let's start here. I was fascinated by your journey, and obviously from the humble beginning in Hammanskraal, where you had a spaza shop running at home. And maybe we see that a lot, and I'm not sure if people are able to understand. It presents an opportunity for them to begin to understand the nitty gritties, if you like, of business. How important was that experience at home in shaping the entrepreneurial mind that you are? Roberto, can you hear me?
Thank you for having me today. And
Sure.
yes, I can hear you. Am I audible on your side?
Yeah.
So firstly, thank you for having me, and I do apologize that I'm not able to be in studio with you guys. I would have
Apology
loved to
taken.
be there. Okay.
Sure.
Started off experiencing entrepreneurship through this puzzle shop that we had at
Hmm.
home, go Kahamanskirale, specifically
Yeah.
go Marokolongi. And I
Hmm.
worked there as a young girl. I think from the ages of 8, I was already working go shopong. So I would be
Yes.
servicing customers, selling customers, and one of the key things I actually learned from there was interpersonal skills, like how to treat a customer. Just merely saying dumelang to someone,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
it separates you a lot from when you're interacting with a customer and just saying, how can I help you? Just greeting
Mm.
a customer, it's a sign of respect, it's a sign of acknowledgement. But from that environment, I've learned how to talk interpersonal skills. I've also managed how to speak to suppliers, how to have an effective communication with as well as business strategies. In
Yeah.
as much as people might think Hore as Paza Shop is a plug and play
Mm.
in
Mm.
all townships, but each area has its own specific needs.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I know these puzzle shops these days, they even do labeling for
Mm-hmm.
bokoko ba ba kgolang modende, do you understand? So
Yeah.
that's also a form of understanding the community that you operate within. So those are
Mm-hmm.
the essential lessons I've learned along the way.
And then you moved into chemical engineering, and I know that you're still pursuing your education. And there, I was thinking a lot of people would graduate with that degree, stay there a decade later with that particular degree, wouldn't find the need, or would they, to study further. You are pursuing PhD as well. I mean, talk to us about why you've decided with that entrepreneurial mind that you're going to go into chemical engineering. I thought you should have pursued business then.
Okay, so I've always known that I wanted to be an engineer at heart. So I think when I started pursuing chemical engineering, so chemical engineering is very broad. You can go into water treatment, you can go into
Mm,
manufacturing, you can go into mining, you can go into cosmetics like me. So I had
yeah.
the opportunity of working under Mr. Mhlanga and Mr. Msutani
Hmm.
at the chemical engineering lab.
Breaking that at critical time. You,
And
we are losing you.
with cosmetics.
We've lost you for
Can
the better
you hear
part.
me?
Yeah, of course, but at some stage we lost you there, Ms. Dire. But let's get to our conversation. Let's continue with our conversation, and hopefully we are not interrupted by connectivity there. You've also now started a business. I know that you have an outlet in Main Lane at the Main Lane Mall. You also have one that you've recently started as well in Randburg, Johannesburg. But you faced a lot of rejection as well in your journey. Talk to us about that, because it is at that point where many people really leave the dream to die and decide, I'm not going to stand the rejection any further.
Okay, so when I started out, I started having my own cosmetics brand, and I was obviously trying to get it into the biggest retailers, which would be Clicks. So I was
Mm-hmm.
rejected by Clicks, big enough brand. But for me, it was about how many of these local brands, oh wait, not even local
Mm-hmm.
brands, like international brands, do we discover on the shelves of Clicks, of Discount, Pick and Pay, ShopRite, but they don't offer local brands the same opportunity of being visible in retail spaces. So essentially, that is where we got the idea of opening a
Yeah.
store that houses local brands, that affords local brands the opportunity to participate in your billion rand economy,
Mm.
of cosmetics retail,
Yeah.
where predominantly it's international brands that are in that industry, is the bigger corporations. And as small consumers of local brands, and as South Africans, we have less than 2% market share and visibility within the retail sector. So through that rejection, it gave me a new business idea. It's still within the same business industry, but it is obviously a different kind of venture.
I want you to stay on the line for us. A lot still to go into. When we get into the second hour, we'll get into our topic proper. It has gone that time. Polelo Madisa standing by with the news. Remember, if you want to engage the show or pick Reabetswe's brain, you can just simply send us a WhatsApp. Either it's a voice note on 012-382-9257. Polelo Madisa, start sending those questions if you want to pick the best brains. Here we are TUTFM, we are 96.2. We amplify voices and empower live. And today we do have Reabetswe Dire, who's the Chief Executive Officer at Edenvinne, and we are talking how one can turn your academic knowledge into and income. And she's on the line to help us navigate that particular discussion. Let's get to you, Reabetswe. I mean, it is the point at which you started the idea of Bold X brand that got me fascinated. I want us with that to move into the conversation, because when I look at 2020, it is a point at which many businesses were closing. That was COVID. Everybody was shell shocked by the developments around the world, and then you come up with a Bold X brand. Talk to us about that.
Okay, so a lot of international brands were closing their stores in a lot of malls because they obviously couldn't pay rent because the malls and the stores were closed.
Yeah.
So what a lot of malls were essentially doing was allowing local brands to come in and have
Mm,
pop-up stores. So I went in with my brand, Boldex Brands, which is a female and male oriented cosmetics brand into mainland, and I had a pop-up store there, and it went absolutely amazing because being in a mall is the right setting for people to sample and try your products, to
mhm,
engage with you, as opposed to, Holokodi marketing, people are there for the food, for the drinks, for the music.
mm,
Maroko
mm, mm.
Molong, but they are there to shop. People are there
Yeah.
to sample the product, they wazama,
Mm, mm. Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
more willing to engage with you. So that was actually the growth of Boldex brands. That is where you actually turn setbacks of certain businesses or of certain aspects into opportunities and growth for you as a brand. And that is what I essentially did with Boldex brands.
How do you create opportunities then, especially for students, for young people? And I'm going back to the point of rejection. I also see that you've placed a lot of emphasis on working strictly with South African, products and market. I mean, talk to us about how you're opening opportunities. From your experience, you would know just how doors get easily closed. How are you creating opportunities for young people to get into the entrepreneurial space through the companies that you have?
Okay, so firstly, through the companies that I employ young girls, and it's young girls that are essentially trying to improve their lives. I'm a strong
Yeah.
advocate of them also um, going back to school, advancing the education. So all the ladies that work with me are currently in school and advancing their education. So that's one way that I empower them. Another way is actually by having local brands. I'm essentially investing in South African people because our unemployment rate is so high, and big
True.
companies and big corporations, they're closing down, they're moving into AI, they're moving into automation, and they're retrenching
Mm,
so many people. But we
yeah.
as local brands, the more we grow, the more we are able to essentially employ people. So at the
Yeah.
moment, we have 98 local brands in our store. And
Hmm.
on average, each brand is essentially working with three people. So we
Hmm.
have a total of 294 people that are potentially employed through Edenvinne and through the I want to call partners that we have
Yeah.
in Edenvinne, because the brands that we house, they are our partners. So that is how we are essentially number one, reducing the unemployment, because the more
Hmm.
Edenvinne grows, it means the brands are also growing. The more people they're able to employ, but it's also the more people that we are also able to employ with Edenvinne. I mean, our first store in mainland was only employing three people. We are
Yeah.
now employing a total of nine people, including
Hmm.
myself. So
Yeah.
I think the more we grow, the more people we're employing, the more the brands are essentially employing more people as well.
Oh, great to you. Now, let's get into this. It's a very difficult one. And I'm saying that precisely because a lot of people who graduated are not able to channel this knowledge and make money out of that. They don't know how to monetize, if you like, their expertise and skills. Talk to us about how one can turn his academic knowledge. Now we're getting into the intestine of the matter. How do I turn the academic knowledge I have into an income?
Okay. So firstly, like I was introduced to cosmetics through the chemical engineering labs that I was working at. Specifically the chemical engineering labs at at TUT main campus. So what I
Yeah.
learned from that is that what I learned during my experiential learning. So within the engineering faculty, before you graduate, you have to do experiential learning, which is your 1 year where you are getting experience from an outside company or a company. So I was unable to actually get a company that would essentially hire me or absorb me and get experiential learning from that. So I did my experiential learning from TUT. And I
Mm.
learned how to formulate cosmetics products. I learned the regulations of cosmetics products. But apart from that, from what I learned during my academic years was, as an academic person, you hand in a lot of assignments that's teaching you interpersonal skills, that's teaching you research. You
Hmm.
cannot start a business without having sufficient research. It's also
Right,
teaching
right.
you how do you draw up proposals, how do you now take a whole lot of information, because obviously when you
Hmm.
submit proposals and business plans, you need to now conclude everything into one. You need to have a conclusion. We call it an executive summary.
Yeah.
So that is what all these things have taught me. But I think apart from that, it has taught me how to have a problem solving mind, because during our academic
Reabetswe?
we get cert- we get certain challenges with the assignments that
Yeah.
we're given, and that is teaching you how to have a problem solving mind. So I
Yeah.
think those are the biggest takeaways that I have learned,
Yes.
in terms of articulating myself, interpersonal skills, having a problem solving mind, and while knowing how to present myself in a written way, because banks and people that fund you want you to
Hmm.
present and articulate yourself
Yes.
in a document.
Yes.
So those are the teachings and learnings I have taken.
Of course, if you want to be part and parcel of the conversation, you can send us a WhatsApp on 01238299257. You can also make it a voice note as well. And we are having an important conversation in terms of how you turn your academic knowledge into an income. And joining us for that particular discussion is Reabetswe Dire, Chief Executive Officer at Edenvinne. Of course, we are having that particular conversation. Take a quick break. When we return, we continue with the conversation. Send those questions in. Come back from a quick break. We continue with the conversation. You're listening to TUTFM 96.2. We amplify voices and empower lives. We are indeed coming to you live from Building 53 in Soshanguve, and it's a Plug a Graduate feature. And today, we've brought in Chief Executive Officer at Edenvinne, and we are talking how one can turn your academic knowledge into an income. I mean, Reabetswe, are there practical, doable steps at the very least to get started? Because at times you meet somebody who says, I've graduated 3 years ago and I'm still here
Mm-hmm.
qualified without a job. And the sense I get from you is it shouldn't be happening if you have ways in which you can channel that knowledge and monetize it. Are there practicable, doable steps here to get started at the very least?
Yes, there are practical, doable steps. But first and foremost is that you actually need to get started. You need to do something.
Yes.
You need to
Yes.
understand that nothing is going to happen by you just sitting and doing nothing when you don't have any form of movement that is happening. But
Right.
aside from that, anyone that wants to persevere or succeed in entrepreneurship, they need to understand that you need to have perseverance and
Mhm.
resilience, because it's not an easy journey, but it is a very rewarding journey once you get
Yes.
to the point where you are seeing the returns, or rather the fruits of your labor.
Hmm.
So I think in terms of practical steps is that whatever challenges or stumbling blocks you encounter along the way, like I was saying, have a solution driven mind. Don't
Right.
look at it as a barrier from stopping you to succeed or whatever. Look at it as a challenge, and a deviation is needed, which is what
Yeah.
I did when I was rejected by the big retailers. I deviated
Mm.
and formed a completely new business idea that is now helping not only me but 98 other local brands that we currently house in Edenvinne, in Mainland Mall, as well as Randburg Square.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there are a lot of doable steps, but I think the most important thing is knowing what your business is about, what product or service are you offering, what gap are you bridging in the market. Because once
Mhm.
you know those things, it's going to assist you in terms of your marketing, because you'll be able to articulate your
Yes.
value proposition to your customers or to your suppliers better.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of doable things, and from my point of view, there's no business idea that is a bad business idea. There is a
Hmm.
business idea that is not marketed correctly or marketed to the correct target market. That
Yeah.
is what I believe. If there was a business idea that was bad, we wouldn't have the likes of Elon Musk making money from people going into space.
Sure. Sure.
So there's a lot of different ideas out there. I mean, I once thought of an idea, because I'm a woman and I obviously wear the bra. I once
Yeah.
thought about, why doesn't someone make dilo tse re di kentshang mo bra, mara e seng ya go tlhaba, like it's very uncomfortable. After some time, there's a wire that sticks out. Why can't someone make something that when it sticks
Yeah.
out, are you tlhabi? Do you understand?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I've had
Yeah.
that idea, but unfortunately, that's not my passion. So you
Yeah.
need to think outside the box. You need
Yeah.
to look at yourself as a human being. Look at your community. What
Mm.
are they lacking? What is it that
Sure.
you can improve on?
Hmm.
Everyone likes convenience. Harutomo tshwara tjhelete.
Yeah.
You want to start doing things that are convenient for you. And I'm going to
Yeah.
give you a practical example.
Yes.
The likes of having water and a toilet. Back then, we didn't have those things. But
Right.
because you had money, you wanted the convenience of what? Opening a tap and having
Yeah.
water coming out, as opposed to going somewhere with no hellani. Did you understand?
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
we need to look at it in that manner. What are you as a
Mm.
community or as an
Mm.
individual, as a target audience lacking? And bring that forth to your target market or your potential customers.
Sounds very, very simple. I mean, you just have to look at the problem that is within the community. Right there, you're looking at money.
Absolutely. It's not that simple, but I will say it is doable and achievable.
All right. Those questions are coming in. Of course, you can give us those on 0123829257. On the line to us now is Reabetswe Dire, Chief Executive Officer at Edenvinne. And we are talking how you can turn your academic knowledge into an income. Hers is a journey of pure determination. If you look at what she has been able to do, she has her eyes as well into the environment, into green energy. She wants to be everywhere, basically, and that is precisely what she's saying. Is that you got to look at the problem and right there begin to think of yourself as a solution, and that is the conversation that we are actually having. What are the mistakes, the common mistakes? Like I would imagine one of the mistakes that we commit is that we want to think of a big business idea that beats everybody in the world, right? But what are the common mistakes then, Reabetswe, that we commit in the process of trying to get money, ignoring available opportunities? What are some of the common mistakes that impedes us from getting perhaps richer and getting that money?
I think one of the biggest common mistakes that we make is that thinking there is no money in the Black community.
Mm,
If you look at adverts, Tabu KFC, Tabu Mr. Muscle, look at all
yeah,
adverts that are
yeah.
out there, man. They are all targeting what? Black people. Black
Mm,
people are the biggest consumers in South Africa. So us
right.
thinking Kokasi or black people being your target market, huna tjhelete, that is the biggest misconception ever.
Yeah.
And you thinking having a luxurious thing or an overpriced product is the way to make money. But
Yes,
ordinary
yes.
people and having affordable products is the way to go. And you actually need to think at you need to look at how white corporations are essentially investing in
Yeah.
the black community. But will I
Hmm.
more local kasi, but will I KFC, the chicken leg in the
Yes.
Lebanese, all of these things. If not Masana Chalete Mokas, they wouldn't be doing all of that. So I
All
think that
right.
is the biggest mistake that business owners always make.
Mm.
And I always say this,
Hmm.
man, my target market is black people. My
Yeah.
target market is helping black people,
Right.
black women, black men, helping them achieve their beauty goals, that is what I'm
Mm.
affording them at affordable, reasonable prices. We do have products that are of a higher end, but
Yeah.
predominantly I'm targeting affordability. I'm targeting the everyday person. I'm targeting someone that has a budget. Yeah, the beauty products and is going to stick to that budget. So the biggest misconception is thinking, oh, naturally, I mean, Makula have taken over the entire
Yeah.
spaza
Yeah.
shop industry.
Yeah.
If no
Yeah.
sana chelete mo, why batho bila di shopo mo? So I
Yeah.
feel like that is the biggest mistake and the biggest misconception that we made as entrepreneurs or potential entrepreneurs.
Also, one of the issues that I wanted to raise with you, especially particularly around that point, is many would say, and you are talking about selling something that is affordable, but we are seeing entrepreneurs thinking, how would they start like selling exactly the same thing that the guy across the street is selling. You would suggest that is a wrong approach to go about it, and perhaps people are not thinking more around. I'm thinking if Reabetswe ba mo rekela di cabbage a wa le nako stoka tsaka, then maybe they can buy. But that would be a wrong approach of looking at entrepreneurship and business broadly.
Definitely. So I think
Uh,
but you need to look at when I as a brand or as an entrepreneur, what sets you up apart. And I want to use the example that you used where moto across the street, if they are selling fruits and veggies and someone
mm,
else across the street is selling something different, that is where the mixed veg, the tlhahileng ko teng. I don't know if go le ngwana ko ka se utlwe o itse mixed veg, that is essentially what someone was doing to try and separate themselves from someone else. So you can be innovative, where
yeah.
summer pack or where the package motho or bana ba ka di irang ka mo school backeng wa rekisa tse three wa itse gore ngwana ha ya sekolong for the next 3 days o tlo nna le di-fruits tsa tlo nnang le tsone. There's different ways that you can separate yourself or caring make yourself unique compared to your suppliers. I was actually reading a book by Vita Blue Oceans, and it actually
Yeah.
speaks about how do you as an entrepreneur set yourself apart so much that your competitor no longer becomes your competition. So you
Yeah.
completely create your own lane that
Hmm.
someone else
Yeah.
no longer becomes your competitor. And it can be dilo tse nnyane like ka mokgwa o go botsang gore motho a rekisang di-fruits le di-veg mo strateng ga ka nna le di-packet every week a change di-packet tsela a ira di-fruits tse different every week. Motho wa itse gore ga tlo reka mo wena beke o tlo kry-a packet ya di-fruits tse different. It becomes an opportunity for someone gore a je different fruits every week, it no
Yeah.
longer
Yeah.
becomes ntho ya o bora because wa itse le bana ba boreya always re ja cabbage always ke mazambane mara motho ga ka nno ira something different. It becomes something completely different to your customer. It's
Yeah.
gore beke ka itse gore ko ja mazambane ko ja cabbage next week ko ja pumpkin ka ja sweet potato ka ja spinach, just those small things can completely set you apart.
Yeah, the appetite for risk as well, because if I'm not seeing any something in the market, the fear not to lose money, you obviously want to sell something that you are seeing people buying. How important is it though, from an entrepreneurial perspective, to develop more appetite for risk here?
Hi, if you want to be an entrepreneur, it's also very more risky.
Yeah.
But I always say take calculated risks. And that is where your research comes into play, because
Yeah. Yeah.
sometimes you don't want to do something that is dying down, you know. I will give
Yeah.
example, yeah, BlackBerry. You know, at some point BlackBerry BBM was such a huge thing. Mara, because BlackBerry couldn't be innovative. But BlackBerry,
Mm.
I think Donald LG, where Opola chocolate, that was like the
Yeah.
influence.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Motorola, they died down because
Yes.
they
Yeah.
failed to be innovative. So
Hmm.
for Bona, it's that they fail to do their research and see where the market is going. So when you want to go into an industry, you always need to be up to date ka research. When you look at Apple, ba release a phone every year, you know, and
Yeah.
Hawaii is competing. Le bona, he Apple le fetsa ntsha, le bona ba ntsha something. So when you
Mm.
effectively
Mm.
want to take a risk and be an entrepreneur, you must always be doing research. I do research every day. I know what's trending in the market. I know
Yeah.
what my competitors' possible next moves are. Like you
Hmm.
need to be out there. You need to look for and hoka level you wahopola I wanna think which brand actually started this thing at the loyalty points. Ne? And
Hmm.
whenever know all these retailers banale some form of the loyalty points, the
Yeah.
discount or,
Yeah.
and all of
Yeah.
those things. So
Hmm.
it's about taking calculated risk. All of them have some form of benefits, but it's benefits and it's a risk that they can manage. Like check us, I see the points, mara batla ho botsa hore ha o reka particular products you get a discount.
Yeah.
So you need
Hmm.
to make calculated risks, and
Sure.
that is essentially made from doing proper research.
Also be able to keep your eye on the market, be abreast with the development and the changes that are happening. Let's take a very quick break. There are a number of questions that are coming in here. Reabetswe, hopefully you'll be able to give answers to those. We take a quick turn. We're back into Shakes of Elam's Tale. Welcome back indeed from a quick break. I put it to you in case you've just touched down that we have Reabetswe Dire, and this is Plug a Graduate. Happens every Wednesday, and you are indeed welcome to our conversation. Now, Reabetswe, there seem to be a number of questions that are coming in. Let's start off with a question from Juan Lerato from WRES. And the question here
Okay.
is, what is your biggest advice for someone who is trying to start a business while still living at the rest?
Okay. So thank you for that, Lerato. That is actually a good question, because when I also started my first business, which
Yeah.
was perfumes, I started at Riz. My best advice would be with start what you have. Start with
Mm.
what you have. Because sometimes people think, Warren, you need a million rand, you need 100,000 to actually
Yeah.
start your brand, and
Hmm.
you need to start with what you have. So even when I started, I didn't even have the correct equipment to close my perfume bottles. I had to actually make my own a pressing machine using a heel of my boot, using springs, you know, using those kind of things. So start with what you have. Even if you can just make 5 products. I remember I told myself that I just need to sell 10 perfumes for me to be able to buy that equipment that I needed.
Yeah.
And indeed, after I have sold 10 perfumes, I actually was able to buy the equipment that I needed to close my perfume bottles.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
start with what you have. Even if or rekisa tse two, rekisa tsona tseo tse two, you know, sell that too,
Yeah.
and and go stock more from that. If you're only able to afford 5 products, go stock 5, and make more from that. You're only able to render one service to one person, then you need to go stock. Start with
Reabetswe?
what you have.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Let's get to Isaac's question now from Block BB. And he's saying the best business model to start in this day and age, if any at all?
The best business model to start is, I would say, it's a business model that doesn't rely on other people.
Yes.
And when I say that, I don't know how to say this in the correct manner. The best business model is one that you have control over the entire value chain. What I mean is something from manufacturing to being able to package and reselling. Because
Yeah.
sometimes your manufacturers might actually not be able to manufacture on time, not get the correct packaging. So the best business model is where you essentially being able to have everything in-house. I
Yeah.
think that is for me that is the best business model. Very
Yeah.
little to non-disappointments, and you essentially can control the
hmm
business from your end.
All right, we have two more questions. Austin Maleka has a question as well. Lisiba Molokume also has a question. But let me squeeze this one. Um, put it to you, Reabetswe. Um, what skill set, what attributes, if I may, do I need to be the best entrepreneur?
Perseverance, number one. I believe what makes a successful entrepreneur, and I don't want to call an entrepreneur that is given up is perseverance, because in everything, at every single point in time in life, you get disappointments, you get challenges, but it's how you navigate or how you um I'm trying to find the right word. How
Yeah.
you essentially look at those challenges. If you look at something as a problem, as a way that has stopped you from being able to pursue your entrepreneurship dream, then it will just stop there and you will just divert to something else. So
Mm-hmm.
perseverance, good communication skills, because good communication skills can either make or break relationships. And when
Yeah.
I say relationships, I mean when you are an entrepreneur, you engage with different people at different levels. It can be customers, it can be suppliers.
Yeah.
And some people will be willing to do certain favors for you just by the way you are able to communicate with them. And then also marketing. A lot of people like to focus on getting the product or the service right. But the key thing is being able to articulate your product
Mm-hmm.
offering or your unique selling point to your
Yeah.
potential customer. If you fail to do that, then you don't have a business at all. If you are unable to market, if you're unable to invest in marketing, you don't have a business at all. If you can't do marketing or you feel like when almost shy, you can't do this, you can't do that, don't even think
Yeah.
about going into entrepreneurship.
Right. Now, Austin Maleka from Block VV is asking your advice to a young lady who's trying to maneuver the corporate world. How can they boost their confidence?
Okay, so number one, that is a very good question, Austin, because if you don't feel good or if you're not confident, you're not even able to perform at your level best. So one
Mm-hmm.
thing that I find confidence in is that if I look good, I end up feeling good. So do things that boost your confidence, it can be either your appearance, but besides from your appearance, you can do motivational cards for yourself every morning.
Yeah.
Look at yourself in the mirror every morning and say words of affirmation.
Mm-hmm.
Because each and every single person has been designed and made by God uniquely. There is no
Yeah.
one like you, and there will never be anyone like you. So, words of
Mm-hmm.
affirmation are absolutely important. If you are someone that is Christian, praying and asking for discernment and guidance from God, that is absolutely important. But also surrounding yourself with people that are positive. If you're in a very negative environment, your mindset tends to be very negative as well. So it's very important for you to surround yourself with very positive people. If you don't have positive people, please follow me. I'm a very positive. You can
Yeah.
follow me on
Yeah.
all social media platforms. Reabetswe Dire. I'm a very positive person, and
Right.
yeah, believing in yourself. Believing in yourself is very important and very key. And I know sometimes I've also had times when I didn't believe in myself, but how you can also build confidence is looking at your strengths. Looking at
Mm-hmm.
what you are strong at or what you're good at, and doing
Right.
more of those things, because those things will give you more confidence.
Right. And then let's wrap up with this particular question from Lisiba Molokomme, who's from MRES as well, saying, and this is an interesting question, I'll tell you, Reabetswe. He's saying, growing up from Kasi, how did you
Mm-hmm.
create this mindset? In other words, he's saying it is not a Kasi mindset, but how did you create that? That's the question from Lisiba Molokomme.
Okay, I think it's not even about creating that mindset, but I think I didn't allow where I grew up to be my ending point. You know, as a
Mm.
human being, we all have dreams, you know, and I don't even think I've reached some of my dreams or most of my dreams. So
You.
it's about think about what you want to achieve. I won't even use because no matter when as a person, where do you see yourself, you know, and then
Mm-hmm.
work towards those goals. You need to one understand what Honestly, fail or say anything, ne? Nothing is going to
Mm-hmm.
happen, nothing is going to change. So, in order
Yeah.
for your situation or for your circumstance to change, you
Mm-hmm.
need to do something. So, that is number one, Lisiba. You
Right.
need to do something. Honestly, fail, I want to change, ne? Number
Mm-hmm.
two, find people that you can look up to, you know, find people that have the kind of lifestyle that you aspire or the kind of things that you want to have in life. Um,
Right.
you know, read about their journey, you know. People are very honest about their journeys. I'm
Mm-hmm.
very honest about my journey.
Yeah.
So I'm very honest about where I come from, but it didn't limit what I wanted to achieve.
Right.
And
Right.
work hard, work smart, do a lot of research, whatever you want to do, equip yourself with knowledge. Be
Right.
a
Right.
specialist in what you're passionate about. You know, if you are that good, ne, no one can ever take that away from you. You know,
Mm.
le ko ka ha se hona le o mmitsang he pompo e dutla because
Yes.
he's that
Yes.
good. When tlhaloganya,
Yeah.
because he's that
Yeah.
good,
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
everyone will mmerekisa. You know,
Mm-hmm.
electricity because he's that good. When tlhaloganya. So
Sure.
be a
Sure.
specialist where motho a na le bothata or if there's an issue, motho o nagana wena top of mind. Mara you must remember
Right.
gore before you become a specialist, there's a lot of building blocks that you need to do. And I just think for me, who are also being from Kokasi, you get exposed to a lot of possibilities, you know. You get a lot
Yeah.
exposed to a lot of things that you can venture into. We all know ho na le batho ba bang that have chosen a direction that is not right. Ho na le ba
Yeah.
bang that have chosen a direction that's wrong. So look at those things, you know, look at your
Yeah.
surroundings,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong on Nangwana Kokasi. That is the best way to grow up, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Um, Bagodi Sabab Singh, they don't experience the fun parts of Nangwana Kokasi. So look at the benefits, you know. Ra kgona ho bolela ho phala ba bantši.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that is
It's a
what I've learned from Habangwana guys.
it's a very, very important conversation. This, I'll tell you what. You are an ornament to women. You are a woman of substance. I'm looking at the work that you have done. 87 branches, and you still want more. That is the unflinching determination that I'm talking about. This being Women's Month, we all wish all the women directly all the best, and I see it's going right towards the tail end as well. It is women like you who really deserves a mention. Ordinately proud about the work that you have done. And your message then, before we let you go, to most women who might be thinking about the challenges, things that you had to face yourself in the process of trying to achieve their dreams. Is there any message at all?
I think my message as we're about to close off Women's Month, I would like to firstly say happy Women's Month and happy Women's Day, because Women's Day is every day. You know,
Yeah.
women are the pillar of so many families. We are even the pillar of the economy. So I
Yes.
would like to say I salute each and every single woman, whether young, old, you guys are absolutely amazing. And one thing I'd like to say to women, I think we experience a lot of rejection as no. And I'd like to say to women that no and rejection is not the end. It's merely a redirection to
Yeah.
better and greener pastures. So I'd like to say if someone tells you no or they reject you, it's time for you to deviate. It's time for you to find a new highway, you know? We have a lot of highways in South Africa from N1, N2, N3, N4, M1, M2, you know? So that should also be life. There's a lot of paths that you can go onto. There's a lot of things or industries you can eventually venture into and a lot of experiences. So I would say that no and rejection is just merely a redirection for something better, bigger and better.
There you go. Chief Executive Officer of Edenvinne. Yeah. So
Edenvinne, yes.
Edenvinne, sorry for butchering that. I know it's an idea you've worked hard to develop, but thank you so much for having spent time with us. You are a living proof that it is indeed possible, straight from Kasi and all over the country. Thank you so much, and best of luck as well. You look glowing. Clearly, your cosmetic products are working. Have a good night.
Yes, they are working. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you to everyone that has tuned in. And if you guys want to experience such glorious beauty, you can come
Yes.
shop local brands at Mainland Mall. We are located above the banking court and Randburg Square in Johannesburg. We are opposite Malcolm's. And for more information, everyone can follow us on all our social media pages. So the name is Edenvinne. It is spelled
Mhm.
Edenvinne. I'm going to say that again,
Mhm.
Edenvinne. And thank you so much to TTFM for having me. It's truly been an honor from being a student at TUT and now being
Yes.
able to speak to fellow students. It is truly a full circle moment for me.
Indeed. TUT known worldwide for producing wealth of talent, really. We'll leave it there. Thank you so much for your time.
The Groundbreakers, Mondays to Thursdays. Mondays to Thursdays, 7 to 9 p.m. on TUT FM.